So have you ever seen these cash for your house signs on the side of the road? Sometimes they're referred to as bandit signs because maybe the local city or county, they don't allow them. So maybe you just see them on the weekend. Well, these signs usually are from wholesalers. This is another branch within the real estate world. So why I bring this up for real estate agents is I think the more we know of different topics, different branches within the real estate world, the more people we can help, the more transactions we can do, the more skills we start to stack, and subsequently our income can go up. So I wanted to start making different videos to kind of cover 10,000-foot overviews of different branches within real estate. Because that's kind of the great thing of this industry is no one person will know everything. But at least if we start to be aware of different terms, different branches, we can help more people and close more deals. So today is all about wholesaling. In the future, I'll make like vacant land, development, new construction, commercial, leases. So this is just the one to begin with is wholesaling. What is a wholesaler? So I want to dive into some of the key terms that are common within this realm of real estate. That way you understand it. It's another tool you can add to your tool belt. Maybe even you find a house that you could wholesale. Now, I want to go over different pros and cons with it, different pitfalls to watch out for, and how this relates to real estate agents is you may have a wholesaler contact you that wants you to write offers on their behalf. You may have a house listed for sale and maybe you get an offer from a wholesaler, or maybe you don't know it's a wholesaler, but by watching this video, you now know that's probably what you're facing. So let's go into first, what is wholesaling? I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my whiteboard real quick. Let's see if this works. All right, so what is a wholesaler? What do they do? What's their main function? Well, a wholesaler, for lack of a better term, think of them almost like a middleman. And that's a bad term, but just think middleman. So what does that mean? Well, let's say we have a house and you're gonna have to excuse terrible penmanship on Zoom whiteboard, but it's very difficult to write. So let's say there's a home that if it was fixed up, it would be worth $100,000. I'm gonna use super easy numbers. I'm not saying this home exists. I just wanna make it super easy numbers. It could be $500,000 home, 600,000, million. I just wanna do 100,000, nice and simple. So let's say fixed up, it would be worth $100,000. That would be considered the ARV, or the after repair value. Let me go ahead and write that out for you. ARV, after repair value. Now, why does this matter to a wholesaler? Oh, guess I can't move that. Well, what a wholesaler tries to do is, one, they have to be knowledgeable of what an after repair value could be on a home. And let's say they find a distressed seller. Maybe somebody is going through a divorce. Maybe the house is just destroyed. Maybe the people inherited the house. Maybe they have to pay off debt. There's all sorts of different reasons why somebody would sell their house lower. But let's say they contact a seller and the seller agrees to sign a contract to sell their house for $50,000. Now, that's a good little spread. There's $50K difference of, hey, if you fix this up, you could be potentially making some profit depending on how much repairs are. Now, what a wholesaler does, let's say they are buyer A. That's the wholesaler here. Here's the wholesaler. What they do is they then reach out, once they have this contract for $50,000 for a house that could be worth $100,000 fixed up, they reach out to different buyers, different investors, maybe cash buyers, and they assign the rights to this contract to buyer B for a fee. Now, what they could end up doing is maybe this buyer is going to pay 60 grand total for this house. Wholesaler, buyer A, has assigned the rights to this contract to buyer B, and buyer B is going to pay $60,000 for this house. What happens is the wholesaler then makes the difference between the 50 and 60. They would make $10,000. Or if they assign the rights to this contract for $55,000, that would be a $5,000 fee. So that's kind of the most basic form of wholesaling, is the wholesaler tries to find distressed property, motivated seller, and assign the rights to a contract to somebody else. A pitfall of this, though, is that wholesalers can get in trouble, A, if they do not have a real estate license, but B, when they sign this contract, they now have equitable interest in the property. That means they have some sort of right to this property as long as this contract is valid. How wholesalers can get in trouble if they don't have a real estate license is they advertise, hey, I have this house for sale for $60,000 or $55,000, whatever they're trying to get out of it, making it seem like they are practicing real estate without a license, basically acting like a real estate agent. Instead, they should be phrasing it more like, hey, here's this contract I have, and I'm willing to assign the rights to it for a fee. And they label that fee. So basically, they're showing, hey, I'm selling this contract, and here's how much I'm going to make out of selling this contract. So That fee is called an assignment fee, wholesaler fee, however the title company deems it. The more complex situation, and this is really diving into the weeds, is let's say the owner does not want this contract to be assigned. What could happen, and this is more complex, but let's say the wholesaler still finds buyer B for $60,000, but they can't assign the contract over them just yet. So what happens is it's called a simultaneous close or a double escrow. And what that means is on closing day, maybe it's early in the morning, buyer B has sent in $60,000 to the title company. Title company will use 50,000 of the 60,000 to fund this closing A in the morning. Then the simultaneous close, they turn around right after they've just sold the house using these funds to pay the seller. They turn around and then sell it from the wholesaler to the buyer simultaneously. There's that $10,000 difference. That's where the wholesaler gets his money, simultaneous close. Now that's very complex. So I just want to cover that really close because the key terms would be double escrow or simultaneous close. We've also learned after repair value. Now, how does a wholesaler come up with what they're going to offer? And this is the pitfalls of wholesalers, of wholesaling real estate, is if you don't know your numbers, you're going to flop trying to do this branch of real estate. One is you have to know your ARV. So let's go back to that. So let's say it's still 100K is our ARV. ARV. Now, a common rule, again, it can fluctuate. It's not always right at all. In a hotter market, it can go up. This is just a broad general rule that somebody has created. You'll see it on BiggerPockets or different investment sites. It's called the 70% rule. So let me go ahead and write that over here. 70%. So what this means, it's basically a formula to help a wholesaler come up with what they're going to offer. So for real estate agents, this is how it might better explain maybe a lowball offer that comes in. Now you know how they got it. So if the wholesaler can find different comps and they think the home fixed up is worth $100,000, this 70% rule says the maximum allowable offer they should make on this home starts at 70K max. So that's what they should try to get the home under contract for. However, that does not take into account repairs and the assignment fee. So let's say it needs $10,000 in repairs. Well, according to the 70% rule, you start here and work down. So it needs 10K in repairs. And this is very difficult to write. So I'm very sorry for this. So now we're at 60,000. But if we want to make a $5,000 assignment fee, we would then minus that as well to come up with our maximum allowable offer. So 55, and we'll write fee. So this is what the 70% rule is. You start at 70% and you subtract repairs and subtract the fee you want. Maybe you're trying to get $10,000 fee, so then this would be 50. Or you try even lower, and then that way, if you have to cut into your fee, so that way you can assign the rights to this contract to somebody else, that's kind of gives you a buffer. Now, how does this affect real estate agents? How does this affect wholesalers? Well, if you have a wholesaler that either wants you to write offers for them, or maybe they submitted an offer, here's kind of the shortcomings of wholesaling. One is they have to know what they're doing. They have to be able to calculate this after repair value and know how to run comps. Second pitfall of wholesalers is not knowing the proper repair costs. If they don't know what it costs, if the home needs all new floors, all new paint, new kitchen, a roof, if they don't know how to properly calculate their repairs, their offer is going to be too high to the seller, and then they're going to end up terminating that deal with the seller and sometimes wasting the seller's time if they're not doing their numbers correctly. Other times would be if their fee is just too high and they don't end up assigning the contract. So let's jump back over. Let's kind of get out of the weeds. And let's go back to our wholesale. So we actually received this contract. One of our agents did yesterday. So I went ahead and redacted the personal information. But how do you know as a real estate agent if you're dealing with a wholesaler? Well, one telltale sign is their own custom contract. So you either it's an investor or a wholesaler. If you see a different contract than the Tennessee Realtor forms come in, you might be dealing with a wholesaler. It's not red flags, but just the alarms that went off for me. It says assigns right here. The terms and conditions of this contract shall bind all successors, heirs, administrators, trustees, executors, and assignees of the respective parties. And then right here, again, assignable. This contract is assignable by buyer. So alarm bells went off for me that, hey, this might be a buyer or a wholesaler. Now, why that matters as a real estate agent. When you're dealing with a wholesaler, typically they will either have a longer inspection period because during that inspection period, they are trying to find buyer B that they assign the rights to the contract to. So they're trying to find somebody to take over this contract. And if they can't, they'll try to use something in the inspection period to back out. Or you will see in the contract, maybe in special steps or somewhere else, some sort of phrasing that says this contract is contingent upon my business partner viewing and approving of this property by the closing date. If they don't approve, we can terminate and get our earnest money back. Now, that's another telltale sign that you could be dealing with a wholesaler. The Tennessee Realtor Forms mentions assignees twice in the contract, right here, 408 to 418. Binding effect. This agreement shall be for the benefit of and be binding upon the parties hereto, their heirs, successors, legal representatives, and assigns. And if I skip ahead a little bit, it is hereby agreed by both buyer and seller that any real estate agent working with or representing either party shall not have the authority to bind the buyer, seller, or any assignee to any contractual agreement. So that's where it kind of talks about assignees in this form. The last telltale sign is going to be if you see something like Susan Smith and or assigns. Now you know they might be a wholesaler. Wholesaling is its own unique branch of real estate. It can be a good entry point for people that maybe they don't have the money to close on different investment properties. So it's very little startup cost. I actually wholesaled a house when I was first in college student. I went to an attorney, paid $250. They drafted up my own contract. I was putting out these little cash for your house signs every weekend, and it took 3 weeks. And then I got a call without knowing any better and how to actually comp properties. And this is where it can get pitfall of a wholesaler. But they called me, said they want $90,000 for the property. I went on Zillow. The Zestimate was $150,000. Again, this is before I knew how to run comps. So I was ecstatic. I was like, hey, they only want $90,000 for this $150 house. Went to the house. It was destroyed. There was dog pee everywhere. Everything needed to be replaced. Kitchen, floors, roof, windows, everything. And then, so I talked them down and got it under contract for $500,000. And within a couple hours of reaching out to different cash buyers, sharing with different people that I had this contract that I was looking to assign for a $12,500 fee, I sold it, made $12,500 just from a couple hours of work of putting out signs, meeting with these homeowners, getting it under contract, and then waiting a couple weeks till closing. Made $12,500, changed my life as a college student, really made me dive down into the path of real estate because I realized, wait a minute, it would take 2 years as a graduate assistant to make this amount of money. So it can be a good avenue for different people looking to get into real estate. Again, the pitfalls are if you don't know your numbers, if you don't know your ARV, if you don't know the proper repair costs, if you're asking too much for an assignment fee, those can all backfire. And the flip side, as a real estate agent, if you accept a contract like this and they tie up your seller for a really long period of time and then they back out because they can't find somebody to assign this contract to, then it might have wasted the seller's time. So again, this is just kind of a 10,000-foot overview of what wholesaling is. It can be good, it can be bad, just like anything in life. And so just be careful, but hopefully this helps you guys out. Again, in the future, I will do different videos on new development, construction, vacant land, commercial, leases. That way, agents can make more money by having more tools in their tool belt. We can all start stacking different skills. And if you have any questions, click the link below, schedule time to speak with me. We love helping agents. We're the highest paying brokerage in the state of Tennessee. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.